Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alyssa Ray Taglia, and I am the current Miss Connecticut 2016, and I'm very honored to be here today, as well as welcome you to the 12th Annual Connecticut Fallen Heroes Memorial Tribute. It's a beautiful day here in Hubbard Park, and it's a great day to honor and remember the many men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Now, the United States Army National Guard Honor Guard will present the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you to musician first class Dan Smith for that beautiful national anthem. That was beautiful. Thank you. Now, if you would please help me welcome First Lieutenant Dominic Smith, chaplain for the 405th Combat Support Hospital.
Please bow your heads and pray with me. Holy God, today we honor the lives of all those brave souls who gave their life for the cause of freedom. and the love of their country. Bless their souls as we honor them, an honor richly deserved for their valor and courage. And help those of us who are the recipients of their sacrifice, that we may never forget them, and that we will use their shining example of love for their fellow man in all of our lives. For love like this doesn't come easily, but it sustains and keeps us strong in the knowledge that in you we are all truly victorious. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Now, if you would also please help me welcome Mayor Kevin Scarpetti.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It is an honor and a pleasure to not only be with you here today, but to welcome everyone to the city of Meriden and our beautiful Hubbard Park. I would first like to just take a minute to introduce some of the elected officials and others who are seated behind me and joining us today. We have State Senator Tony Hong of the 128th District, State Representative Hilda Santiago, State Representative Kathy Abercrombie. We have City Councilor Brian Daniels, City Councilor Kathy Batista, and others that will be speaking and formally addressing this crowd in just a few moments. Before continuing with my remarks, many of you heard and witnessed the beautiful music that was presented to us today in the band shell, and that was brought to you by the Navy Band Northeast. With that, I greatly give them and recognize them with a formal plaque of the 12th Annual Fallen Heroes Tribute to the Navy Band. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. Today is certainly a day of reflection, a day of remembrance of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Let us not forget those heroic actions, but also continue to pray for all those who continue to serve, those who made it home safely, and all of our veterans. We often think of a hero as someone out of a movie or a fictional cartoon. However, men and women who put on the uniform of the military or proudly wear a badge as a first responder, those are the real heroes. Each and every day, they selflessly serve, risking their lives for our safety and our freedom. Stated by James Campbell, quote, "A hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself." The men and women we honor today are just a small few who have given their lives for their country and for all of us. To their families, their friends, all of our military members, both past and present, we say thank you. And those two words don't nearly mean enough of what you do for us each and every day. However, we hope you enjoy us in this beautiful day at Hubbard Park in the city of Meriden. We welcome you. We God bless you. May God bless our troops, our first responders, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kevin Scarpetti. Now, if you would also please help me welcome Lieutenant Governor Nancy Wyman as she gives today's keynote address.
Thank you, Alyssa. You're doing a great job, and good luck in the competition, because we think Miss Connecticut will be Miss USA. I want to, first of all, before I even start, to thank everybody that's here. But I would ask if all the veterans that are here today to please stand, if you can, or just wave, so that we can thank all of you for who you are and what you have done to make this country the best country in the world. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think about you all the time. Every time I see my grandchildren being able to go play soccer, or my grandchildren doing something, or my kids doing something, or even me being able to speak whenever I want to speak, it's all because of you. It's all because of you that are here and those that we have lost, that have given our country, made our country the best country in the entire world. And I want to thank Mike Mastriani and the Connecticut Fallen Heroes. Mike, where are you? You always hide, but we got to get you out here again, Mike. Where are you? I see, there must be, oh, he's sitting down over there. Because of he and the Fallen Heroes, that's why these ceremonies are given every year. And they fight to make sure this happens. So thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you, and I love you all. You know, I know that we're here today to honor and recognize Connecticut's fallen heroes. And thanks to you, to the men and women and veterans who've joined us today, it makes me so honored to be with you. Connecticut is deeply grateful for the service and sacrifices that you've given. Standing here today with the Connecticut Fallen Heroes, Gold and Blue Star families, and all of you reminds me how proud I am to live in a state that so values your contributions, our troops' contributions, those that gave their lives and those that came home. But a special thanks to the families of the veterans. You are constantly there for those that have gone and those that have come home. You know, recently we dedicated the Trees of Honor and Memorial in Middletown, a living memorial to those killed in action in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001. Last year, we dedicated a wonderful, beautiful memorial, I think, a tribute to all veterans throughout the state, right outside of the Armory in Connecticut, right next to the Legislative Office building, a place that people come every day and see the names of our heroes. Today we remember these soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guards for their bravery and courage, for their commitment to our democracy, for protecting our country and our way of life. Through this tribute, and in cities and towns across the state, we're ensuring that future generations never forget the men and women who died building this country and protecting our freedoms. We will never forget again to say, welcome home. We will never forget that again. Our veterans stand up for us. They are here for us. They were here for us. It is our time to remember that they are truly the heroes, that you are here, that are veterans are heroes. I will say to all of you that I'm fortunate. I have my children and my grandchildren living in the state with me. I'm even more fortunate that the people that came before me, or while even with me, that ended up serving and protecting our state and country. I become lucky because the one thing in my position that's really great is I get to meet all the families. I said this a couple of weeks ago and I'll say it again. You are very, very special people to me. You mean so much. Thank you for giving my children, my grandchildren, and myself the ability to live in a beautiful state, in a beautiful country, a country that I can be proud of and a state that I'm proud of. God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
Also here today with us is United States Senator Richard Blumenthal, so if you would please help me welcome him.
I am so honored and excited to be here again today with so many of the families whom I see often during the year and always on this day. I was remarking a little bit earlier that I can't remember that I've missed any since the beginning, but it is always a special day, and somehow the weather is always this magnificent blue sky brightly shining on some of the best and the bravest among us, the families. And I want to speak from the heart today a little bit, because as a dad of 4 children, 2 of them having served in the military, 1 right now deployed, I don't know where, I want to say that the fallen we honor today and the veterans who are with us and all of our Connecticut veterans serve as a model and an inspiration for my sons and my daughter and for generations who have followed them. The World War II generation, the greatest generation, was great not only because it won the war and preserved our freedom and democracy, but also came back and built the interstate and desegregated the schools and put a man on the moon. Their service was not only in combat and war, it was when they returned home. And that is so true of our veterans. Generation after generation, serving as models of public service for the living. I was in Danbury this morning for a commemoration of the moving wall. Even when Danbury doesn't have a moving wall, it honors the date that it had one. That's the kind of city Danbury is. That's the kind of state Connecticut is. Always honoring veterans. And on the Danbury War Memorial, I'm sure many of you have seen it, there is an inscription that says, "Honor the dead, serve the living." Honor the dead, serve the living. Let us this day, as we honor the fallen, also resolve that we will serve the living, not just in word, not just in rhetoric or speeches, but in deed, in action. As the ranking member on the Veterans Affairs Committee, as well as serving on the Armed Services Committee in the United States Senate, I know all too well how this nation all too often has failed to serve the living among our veterans in healthcare and education and skill training and jobs. Let us serve the living and leave no veteran behind, and keep faith with the men and women who have made it possible for us to stand on this beautiful day in this wonderful place of dignity and magnificence and say whatever we wish over this weekend, worship as we please, gather together without fear that some dictator is going to punish us simply for being together. Those freedoms are because of our veterans, because of the men and women we honor today in this place. And let us honor them in action, not just in word, by keeping faith with them and with the American promise that we will serve the living as well as honor the dead. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great country.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Now we will begin today's Gold Star ceremony. On behalf of Corporal Frank G. Navarro is 3rd District Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro.
Good afternoon. Alyssa, thank you for the warm introduction, and we say thank you to you for representing Connecticut with such poise and with such dignity. I admire your dedication to our state's senior citizen and to its veterans. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Wyman, for your powerful words, Mayor Scarpetti, Senator Blumenthal. It is good to be with you. Let me also recognize the West Haven Elks Club and the Lady Quilters for their contributions to today's ceremony. And we say thank you to the Fallen Heroes Foundation for, yes, always remembering. To my fellow presenters, including my colleague, Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty, it is a privilege to stand with you to honor the lives of these brave men. To the Gold Star families, the Blue Star families here today, we owe you and your loved ones so much for their sacrifice. And we say thank you to you for your sacrifice, because indeed the families sacrifice every single day. I have the honor of recognizing Corporal Frank Navarro. Before I do that, let me recognize the other brave heroes. Andrew M. Peterson Keel, Philip Rominski Jr., Robert D. Stetham, and Ronald E. Storrs. Let me just say to Mary Ann, to Tony Navarro, as well as Seal, Raymond, to the entire Navarro family, it is an honor and a privilege for me to speak in memory of your brother, Corporal Frank G. Navarro, a young man taken too soon as he fought for the ideals of this great country. Frank's story: born in New Haven Hospital, attending Truman Elementary School in the Hill section of New Haven, then Eli Whitney School, is so familiar for many Italian Americans in our strong, tight-knit community. He eloped with his high school sweetheart and went to work for the Whaley Glass Company. We have some idea of what his life would have looked like in New Haven: happy, based in community, faith, and family. But instead, he heroically answered the call and he entered the U.S. Army in 1968. He was an infantryman in C Troop, 3rd Squadron, 4th United Cavalry. He was just 20 when he died from an explosion set by the Viet Cong on May 15, 1968, just 4 months into his time in Vietnam. He made the ultimate sacrifice, and each and every one of us owes him and the thousands of soldiers like him who fought to help the South Vietnamese retain freedom. Not too many years ago, I was in Vietnam, and I went to the Co Chi tunnels and saw the kinds of circumstances that our men fought in, and the danger that was surrounding them every single day, and their heroic sacrifice every single day. His name appears on the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C., a great black gash in the ground that symbolizes our never-ending gratitude to those who died during the war. The Vietnam War Memorial is a powerful place. As you enter it, You walk from the Lincoln Memorial where the words of President Lincoln's second inaugural are enshrined. His words, and I quote, "With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up our nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow, and for his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish the just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations." That is what we owe the families and veterans of Vietnam: care, comfort, and respect. Those are the words you carry with you into the Vietnam Memorial, the idea that we must pursue peace with all nations. And as you walk past the names, the monument gets taller. The scope of death becomes overwhelming. 58,000 brave soldiers. And right in front of you is the Washington Monument, a symbol of our country's enduring commitment to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what these men fought for, what Frank fought for, and I can think of no more fitting tribute. Frank's unit was awarded the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with Palm. He was promoted posthumously from private first class to corporal. He was awarded the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, the Purple Heart with Cluster, the Bronze Star, the Sharpshooter Medal, and many other awards for bravery and for service. Frank was a loving son, brother, brother-in-law, uncle, husband, and a friend to many. He was loved and is missed by everyone who knew him. For men like Frank, their service in Vietnam, as well as in decades of peace, have for too long been overlooked. For all of the veterans of Vietnam, of that war, thank you for embodying some of this nation's most enduring values: honor, duty, and sacrifice. These are the values that I know that Frank brought with him to Vietnam. Many of us remember the contentiousness of that war here on the home front, which is all the more reason why we should honor the courage and the selflessness of those who served. We have a duty to honor those who fought in Vietnam years ago, and for all those we lost there or are still missing, by ensuring that every man and every woman in uniform gets the care, the respect, and the recognition that he or she has earned. And that means remembering the deeds and the heroisms of those who fought. Today's recognition for Frank and for these other brave men who lost their lives fighting in Vietnam and Afghanistan is vital. And frankly, all returning veterans should have been heralded upon your original return from Vietnam. And it means, yes. And it means standing by our troops today who are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. We worked hard to support health services for our returning veterans, but access to basic health and mental health care is just the beginning of our commitment to these men and women. You know, the GI Bill, which President Franklin Roosevelt signed in 1944, provided full tuition, housing, and living costs for some 8 million veterans. It is one of our nation's crowning achievements of the 20th century. Yet over the years, it has lost its financial punch for our veterans today. That is why we fought to pass a GI Bill for the 21st century, to rebuild a foundation for our veterans of recent wars, to begin to invest in their future. And it is why we continue to fight to provide better opportunities for veterans to get the job training that they need to make it in today's difficult economy. We do this as a nation and as a community by making clear that a promise made is a promise kept. And so many years ago on D-Day, FDR led our nation in a prayer for our fighting men entering harm's way. And he said, "Lead them straight and true. Give strength to their arms, stoutness to their hearts, steadfastness in their faith." And with strength, stoutness, and steadfastness, because his nation asked of him, Frank Navarro took up the banner into the jungles of Vietnam. We honor his service, his sacrifice, his commitment to our freedom, and we stand behind our pledge as a nation and as a community, honoring his courage in our own lives and in our work to build a better future. To the Navarro family, Frank is an American hero. Thank you all for your service and for his yesterday and today. As a nation and a community, we are forever grateful. God bless you. God bless this great country. Thank you. Take care. Would the Navarro family please come up?
On behalf of Captain Andrew M. Peterson Keel is Lieutenant Colonel Reed Furman.
Thank you. Senator Blumenthal, Congresswoman DeLaura, Congresswoman Esty, Lieutenant Governor Wyman, Mayor Scarpati, Miss Connecticut, and distinguished guests. Thank you for honoring our service members today with your time and your continued efforts on behalf of our nation and the local community. For Helen and Bob Kaiser Peterson, the friends and family of Captain Andrew Peterson Keel, thank you for being here to honor our fallen heroes and to pay special tribute to the life of PK. Your influence on PK made him a leader, a man that others looked up to and wanted to follow. Today I have been asked to speak in honor of Captain Andrew Peterson Keel. Andrew, or PK as I knew him, was one of the finest Special Forces officers and one of the best leaders I have ever known. Each time I think of PK, I smile. That is my first reaction, and only after that does a second wave of emotion pass through. My name is Reed Furman. I am a Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel assigned to the Pentagon. And on March 11th of 2013, I was PK's company commander when he was killed in Afghanistan. What I know about Andrew outside of the military and from his time at West Point comes from his friends and family. And while each description is unique, each person I talk to recalls PK's passion for life, his magnetic personality, and his ability to look ever forward instead of back. PK was a 2002 graduate of Avon Old Farms School, where he was a tri-sport varsity athlete for the Winged Beavers. If there are students or alumni here today from Old Farms, you have much to be proud of in Andrew's legacy. And for others and the younger generation, those who are choosing who you want to be, what you want to be, and what you want to accomplish, PK's legacy stands as an inspiration and a challenge directly to you. PK entered West Point in the summer of 2002, part of the first class to enter West Point after September 11th, knowing that we were an army at war. As a cadet, he earned the highest grade in the Corps during junior year English. He excelled as a military leader during summer training and during field events. Back in the garrison, he received demerits and reprimands when his shoes were not shined or his haircut was not to standard. Through his 4 years as a cadet, he amassed an impressive 200 demerit hours, which he served as walking tours at West Point. Despite this, as a senior or firstie, he was chosen to serve on the regimental staff. When he chose infantry and then volunteered for Special Forces, it was what his closest friends had expected all along. Andrew's friends describe his passion for life and his love for his family and for his fiancée Celeste. He loved sports, travel, music, and literature, and poured his heart into all that he did. He pursued all things with intensity. Underneath this passion stood a bedrock of toughness and gritty determination recognized by all those around him. This determination led Andrew through 4 years at West Point, infantry training, Ranger School, his time in the 1st Army Division, and through the Special Forces course. Andrew had a magnetic personality. He lit up any room that he entered and the room next door. Everybody who met him considered him a friend. PK genuinely cared about those around him, and it showed. PK always looked forward. He once wrote that the best we can do is decide what we'd like to go for. Go for it hard and with passion. And regardless of whether you get it, you can at least say to yourself, I went after it. I gave everything I had. That was how Andrew lived. That is what I know about PK from his friends and family. What I know about PK in combat comes from personal experience and from the experiences of his teammates. Andrew carried all that he was and each of those traits with him. On the battlefield, in the crucible of intense combat, each of those traits shone through. The courage and determination that his teammates saw was the same passion for life that his friends and family knew. His magnetic personality now appeared as absolute dedication to those around him, a bond of honor and loyalty. Andrew was at his very best under pressure and under fire. There, his ability to look forward instead of back to set the example, to focus his energy and passion, and to motivate others toward a goal made him special. That ability is called leadership. I first met PK in Afghanistan in the fall of 2012, just after he was assigned to 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group. PK was working in the Battalion Operations Center. He quickly built a strong reputation for his hard work and his eagerness to learn. He listened to each radio call that came in, noting how the experienced commanders calmly reported their situation and described enemy targets to overhead aircraft, even as gunfire raged around them. Soon it would be his turn. In late November 2012, the commander of Special Forces Detachment 3126 was injured when his vehicle struck an IED. When my battalion commander asked who I now wanted to lead this team, there were 3 captains available for the job. Each was hungry for the opportunity to command. I needed a strong leader. I chose PK because he possessed the depth of character, the moral and physical courage, and the professionalism to lead America's best. A Special Forces detachment is only 12 men. When PK arrived, this team had been through 12 sustained firefights, tested by intense combat and harsh conditions. 3 members of the team had already returned to the States with injuries, and several others were already nominated for Valor Awards. To enter an environment like that, where the bonds of combat have already formed, takes a special kind of a leader. PK hit the ground running as detachment commander for Special Forces Team 3126 in Jalrez District, Wardak Province, Afghanistan. Once again, he displayed his passion for life, putting every ounce of energy into his new team. He displayed that toughness and that gritty determination that his friends, family, teachers, and coaches had all seen long before. PK used his magnetic personality and his leadership skills to forge strong bonds with his team, with the attached infantry unit, and with the Afghan Special Forces team. He built trust with the tribal elders, the local police chief, and the district governor. He planted his own ideas for success until the provincial chief of police believed that they were his own. PK was intensely proud of his team and proud to be on the ground leading soldiers in combat. In January 2013, I flew out to visit PK at his small, snow-covered base in Jalrez. This was our most remote outpost. There was no running water, but the team was fortunate to have a well with a hand pump for washing and cooking. The road was too dangerous for convoys to deliver supplies, so we flew in supplies by helicopter or dropped them in by parachute. Food, water, batteries, and ammunition. Lots of ammunition. In a harsh environment, in an isolated base, cut off from major towns by miles of Taliban-controlled territory, PK thrived. He loved it there, and he saw opportunity at every turn. I remember standing with PK on the roof of one of the buildings from within the camp. PK beamed as he described the operations he was planning. He showed them on a map or pointed to areas we could see from the roof. He explained his plan to work with the Afghan police and the Afghan army to create security that the valley so badly needed. He continued to look forward instead of back, planning how each operation would set the conditions for the next. He displayed quiet and steadfast confidence in his own abilities and those of his team. He was passionate, never arrogant or reckless, but thoughtful and deliberate in his planning. PK displayed all that I expected from a Special Forces commander. And now, each time I heard his voice on the radio, he was calm and deliberate, even as gunfire raged around him. PK was killed on March 11th, 2013. when an Afghan policeman opened fire on the U.S. and Afghan Special Forces teams as they conducted a patrol brief. In a letter to PK's parents, I wrote about Andrew's leadership. Andrew faced all challenges with unwavering resolve and demonstrated a professionalism and courage that few men ever attain. I am honored to say that I served with Andrew, and each member of his detachment shares my sentiment. The Special Forces motto is De Oppresso Liber. It means to free the oppressed. Andrew lived that motto. His memory, his life, and his actions issue a challenge to each of us regardless of generation. It is a call to pursue each endeavor with passion, to inspire those around us, and to lead by looking forward instead of back. May God bless our nation and each one of you. And at this time, I'd like to ask Helen and Bob Kaiser Pedersen and friends and family of PK to come forward.
On behalf of Specialist 4th Class Philip E. Rominsky, Jr., is 5th District Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty.
Well, thank you so much, Alyssa. Thank you to Mike and all those in the Connecticut Fallen Heroes Foundation. I'll be calling up in a few minutes Heidi Moore, the sister of Specialist 4th Class Philip Rominsky, who I'm honored to speak about today. And to all the veterans of the United States Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marines, thank you. Thank you for your service, and special thanks and recognition to the Gold and Blue Star families that we are gathered here today to commemorate. Mike, thank you for your advocacy and your leadership in this community. It's remarkable to think that it's now been 12 years every year with an ever bigger gathering of people showing this state's commitment to and gratitude to those who served and those who paid the ultimate price in securing the freedoms we enjoy by gathering here together today. I want to extend my gratitude to all of you. Since 2004, Connecticut Fallen Heroes Foundation has honored more than 40 veterans from Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New York. And today, we honor 5 more veterans and recommit ourselves to our promise as a country, as a people, and as individuals, as Americans, to never forget their sacrifice. We've already heard the stories of 2 of these brave men, and it is my honor to tell you a little bit about a 3rd, about Specialist 4th Class Philip Ruminski Jr. Heidi Moore with us here today as a sister. She was able to share some details about what it was like growing up with her brother in Highland Mills, New York. Before graduating from high school, Philip left home to go to work in order to help support his family. And people knew him as a hard worker. He took night classes while working and earned his GED. And from an early age, though, he was incredibly passionate about the arts. After these long days at work and nights at study, he would paint. He was so distinguished as a painter that even as a high school student, his art pieces were exhibited in a New York City gallery. Who is a young man of enormous talent. He came from a proud military family. In fact, both his grandfather and uncle were proud graduates of West Point, and he's a descendant of the great Polish American revolutionary hero, Thaddeus Kosciuszko, who we recognize here in many parts, especially New Britain, just north of here with its strong Polish community. But in January of 1967, he was drafted into the Army, and by August, Philip was sent to Vietnam with the 1st Infantry Division. 1 short year after he was drafted, almost to the day, on January 7th, 1968, Specialist 4th Class Philip Ruminski was killed in Vietnam. In that short time, he had distinguished himself by his service to country and by his bravery on the battlefield. He was awarded the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal from New York State, and the Vietnam Service Medal from the Republic of Vietnam. In honor of Philip's service to his country, the Philip Ruminski Memorial Art Award was established in 1970, and that award is presented to a student who displays exceptional art talent while attending his old high school. His community continues to remember his service, and Phillips High School awarded him a diploma posthumously. And in November of 2014, in honor of Veterans Day, the school celebrated Philip's life and recognized his sacrifice with a memorial plaque in his honor. Philip, like so many men and women, but particularly from Vietnam, Philip continues to be remembered and loved and mourned and missed by his family and friends. It's never too late to do the right thing. This country did not do the right thing when our young men and women came back from Vietnam, but today and every day is an opportunity to make up for that shame of us not recognizing the service and sacrifice of those who answered that call in that difficult time in this country's history, those who proudly served this nation, who helped a country on the other side of the world, and to all those particularly who served in Vietnam who are with us here today, who lost loved ones. Please accept our belated but heartfelt gratitude for your service and for your sacrifice. We have many Gold Star families in this state, much to be proud of with a tradition of service to country. And I hear from Gold Star families across our state, and they've inspired us to work more. And in Congress, we've worked together to introduce legislation to recognize fathers as well as mothers, to provide care for families and additional support. And please reach out to any of us who are elected officials, because it is our honor, it is our privilege, it is our duty to do what we can for you and your families. The stories here are remarkable. You know, listen to these stories, and PK was from Avon, also in my congressional district. And I think about when we see a memorial on a wall and there are lists of names, we need to stop and stand in awe and think and pause about each one of those names as a precious child of God. Each one of those names is someone loved. And I think sometimes when we think about military heroes, we lift them up and make them almost unreal, but they were real, living human beings. And we need to cherish those memories, and we need to care for those who are left behind. I'd like to ask Heidi and the family and any friends who may be here today to come up and join me so we can recognize and honor Philip, and thank you for your sacrifice.
So big. Yeah, it is. And it's for you to use. Oh, okay. I certainly shall. Directions. Yeah, I'll stay. Directions on how to wash it. Oh, thank you. Okay, I will take care of it. Love and thank you for that. Not that I can walk with this. It's big. We can fold it for you. Thank you. It's too long. Yes, thank you.
I know I'm not holding it as well as you guys do.
No, that's okay.
On behalf of Master Chief Construction Man Robert D. Steedham, please welcome retired Navy SEAL Kenneth Steedham.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. I'd like to thank everybody for being here, distinguished visitors, and I mean this when I say this. Anybody that's here today to honor our veterans, to me, is distinguished. So thank you very much. To the families of Corporal Navarro, of Captain Peterson Keel, of Specialist Ruminski, and of Lieutenant Colonel Stortz. Thank you very much for being here and for your men's service, sacrifice, and spirit. I'm grateful for the opportunity today to be able to speak about my brother. honor his memory, and share with you a few things that were very, very important to him. Things that I think are worth sharing, and things that I think are applicable as much today as they were when he was killed. I'm very fortunate to have served with some of the best men and women on, over, and under the ocean. Some of the best men and women that walked this planet. Robert Dean Steedham was one of them. And I am so fortunate to have been his roommate from the time he was born until the time he was killed. So I think I'm uniquely qualified in just a little bit to share with you what was important to him and things I think that he would want me to share with you. Robert Dean Steedham is an American hero. He was a U.S. Navy sailor and a CB diver. He was killed in the early morning hours of June 15th, 1985, during the hijacking of TWA Flight 847. Rob was coming back with a small team from Greece, construction project they had worked on when the plane was hijacked. They singled the military guys out pretty quick. They separated them, and they paid special attention to Rob. He was trained as a constructionman, a steel worker, and a diver. He wasn't trained as a combatant. But that didn't matter because he took a vow, an oath to serve his country. And our first article in the Code of Conduct is, I am an American serviceman. I serve in the forces which defend our country and protect our way of life. I'm prepared to give my life in their defense. And that morning he did. The only weapons that he had to fight back were his body, his mind, and his spirit. They beat his body and broke it. They beat him until he was unconscious. Dumped him next to a 16-year-old Australian girl who was brave enough to untie him so he could get circulation back in his hands. And they chatted. And I know this because her family was flown over to meet our family after Rob was buried in Arlington. And she, like so many other people, were awed at his bravery, at his spirit. She said he actually made her laugh while he was bleeding. And she said, it's going to be okay. And he said, no. He said, I'm the youngest member of my team. I'm not going to make it out. I'm the only one that's not married, and I'm the only one without children. It should be me. Later, when they wanted the plane to be refueled to take off, they tied him up, brought him up front, and they held a mic next to his mouth, and they beat him because they wanted him to scream into the mic. His spirit so infuriated them that they beat him more. And they said, if you don't scream it to the mic, we're going to shoot you. They took him to the edge of the plane. They put the gun to his head. And as the pilot, John Testrake, later said, not a sound was heard to come from him. He had already talked to one of the other teammates, and they knew if they refueled, they'd take off and a rescue couldn't be attempted. The best way I can introduce you to my brother is by a quote by one of the authors from the revolutionary times of our country. And he said, "I love the man that can smile in danger, gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink. But to he whose heart is firm and whose conscience approves his conduct will pursue his principles unto death." That's my brother. He pursued his principles unto death. When I look at the flag, the red represents the blood, the white represents the purity of his spirit, and the blue represents the bruise. When I hear the national anthem, I stand. When my kids hear the national anthem, they stand. Because they know you stand to honor the service, the sacrifice, and the spirit of the men and women who defend our country. So I'd like to share 4 things with you that were really important to my brother, not only in life, not only did he practice these in life, but he practiced them in death. He demonstrated them in death. The first one is God. God. Some people believe in God, some people don't. For those that don't, I would just ask you to ask yourself one question. Have you ever had a conversation with yourself? And if you have, who's talking to who? There's a flesh side and a spiritual side. And the one you listen to is the one you feed the most. And true strength comes from the Spirit. Our brightest minds say that there's matter and there's antimatter. Matter is anything that has mass, volume, and takes up space. You can touch it, feel it. You can see it. Antimatter, they say, is anything that doesn't have mass or volume. So body, brains, blood, bile, that's matter. Honor, courage, commitment, integrity, fidelity, that's antimatter. The Spirit, it's antimatter. And it's the antimatter that makes the matter matter. My brother valued his principles more than he valued his life. Much is the same as the other heroes that are being honored today. Especially Lieutenant Colonel Stortz. It's one thing to be in an incident, and I know I can say this because I've been in them, where you have to move fast to save lives or save your own, and you do it. It takes courage. It's another type of courage to be in a prolonged situation for minutes, hours, or years, not knowing what's going to happen. And all you have in those instances are your principles and your spirit. The next thing my brother valued after God was America. We're very fortunate. We come from a Navy family. Between my father, my mother, and 3 boys, we have 105 years in the Navy. we know Navy. We're very proud. My father said it best at the commissioning of the ship named in my brother's honor. You can go to France and spend 20 years and not be a Frenchman. You can go to India and spend 20 years and not be an Indian. You can go to China or Russia and spend 20 years and not be a Chinaman or a Russian. But you can come to America, and in a very short time, you can become an American. And that's because America is based on principles. America is based on a spirit, and it's in our Declaration of Independence. And these are so highly valued that so many people are trying to get into our country, but they're also so highly despised that there are entire nations and religions trying to destroy it. And we have to take care of it. I'm going to be brief, keep these comments brief, but I'm going to make them, and I have a duty to make these comments in my brother's honor. The word war is an ancient German word. It's actually pronounced wear. It's a verb. It means to confuse. And it's such a good description that the Romans adopted it wholesale. Only pronounced it war. The opposite of day is night, good is bad. The opposite of war is not peace. The opposite of war, or wear, is our word aware, which means clarity. The opposite of confusion is clarity. Peace comes out of the clarity. We have a habit of winning wars, but not the peace, because there's no clarity. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a war going on. The policies, there's no clarity in the policies. We need clarity. We need people not to demand that we fight the war, but we win the war. We owe that to the men and the women that have sacrificed their lives for our country. I'd like to close with this. In the stars in the sky, the last element that's created before a supernova blows up is iron. That iron ends up in planets. From there it ends up in our plants. That same iron ends up in our blood and carries oxygen through the blood into the tissue. The purpose of a star is to shine, and if the iron within us came from the stars, then I believe our purpose is to shine. And we do that by developing relationships, learning truths, and putting them into practice. And we should be practicing political science and not political agendas or political opinions. Our country depends on it. Mike, I'd like to say thank you so much for honoring Rob and these other heroes. To everyone else here from Skorsky, thank you so much. And I just again like to thank everybody for allowing us the time to make these comments and honoring the heroes. Thank you. So we have a big family. We were born in Connecticut, and we're so proud of it. Could the family please come up?
On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Ronald E. Storrs is Connecticut Fallen Heroes volunteer James McMahon.
Wow. This is the 7th year that I've been here, and I get so emotional, absolutely gut-wrenching. What a great country. United States of America. It's made up of great people that we've honored today. Unfortunately, great people that we're going to have to honor tomorrow. My name is Jim McMahon. I'm a lifelong Connecticut resident and a proud volunteer with the Connecticut Fallen Heroes Association. I'm extremely humbled and honored to present Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Edward Storrs today and to introduce you to his daughter Monica and other family members. Ron Storrs is a true American treasure. Ron spent 2,628,000 minutes in captivity. This presentation will be about 12 minutes. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all the Gold Star families and Blue Star families in attendance. Your loved ones are never forgotten, as you can see by this memorial service today. The Connecticut Fallen Heroes Foundation is here for you anytime you need our support. We are your friends and are forever grateful for your sacrifice. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank all our honored guests and dignitaries, as well as their family and friends. A special thanks to Senator Blumenthal, who, as our Connecticut Attorney General and U.S. Senator, has never missed one of these memorials. Thank you, Senator. I would like to thank the City of Meriden and Mayor Kevin Scarpati. Some of the most beautiful war memorials and monuments ever produced are proudly displayed as you enter the heart of this great city. Meriden has given so much for so long, and these monuments are fitting tribute to its brave citizens who died in honor of our country. Please visit these monuments on your way out of this great city of Meriden. I would like to again recognize the Navarro family. Tony Navarro and I are past exalted rulers of the West Haven Elks Lodge, number 1537. When Tony lost his brother, I was in grammar school. Those are tough times on so many families. I'm glad we were able to honor your brother, Corporal Frank Navarro, today. God bless you and your family, Tony. I'd like to thank my father, Hooker McMahon, and my mom, Alice, who's not here today, both 81 and going strong. I'd like to thank my wife, Amy, who's my heart and soul, along with my son, Logan, and daughter, Kelly. Last but not least, I'd like to give a big thank you to Connecticut Fallen Hero Foundation founder, Mike Mastroni. Michael, you are our unsung hero, and without you, this memorial service would not take place, and neither would the Connecticut Fallen Heroes Foundation. A great man to all of us. Thank you, Michael. And this is for Ron Storrs' little girl, Monica. Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Edward Storrs. Ron Storrs was the son of German immigrants. Ron was born on October 21st, 1933 in Ozone Park, New York. In 1951, at the young age of 18, Ron enlisted in the United States Air Force and was commissioned 3 years later. In 1965, Ron was a bird dog forward air controller assigned to the 20th Tactical Air Support Squadron at Da Nang. On April 28, 1965, Ron was flying a low-level mission in his Cessna I-19 observation plane known as the Grasshopper when he was shot down over North Vietnam. On or about April 23, 1970, 5 years after being captured, Ron was tortured to death in a prison hell called Alcatraz. At the time of his death, Ron left behind a loving family, which included wife Sandra, his 10-year-old son Mark, and his 5-year-old daughter Monica. I was first introduced to Ron Storrs in 1985 when reading a book titled In Love and War by Admiral James Stockdale and his wife Sybil. The book gives you insight as to the many brave men that endured years of torture and isolation in two brutal Hanoi prison complexes dubbed by the Americans the Hanoi Hilton and Alcatraz. Alcatraz was a complex where the men that were considered the prison leaders, the men that endured continued torture and would not break, the men most respected by other prisoners, were separated from their fellow prisoners and sent into isolation. Admiral Stockdale and Ron Storrs were two of the 11 men sent to Alcatraz. I highly recommend all to read In Love and War. This book has had a profound impact on my life. After reading the book, I was able to contact Admiral Stockdale, who is now working at Stanford University, a truly humble, great American, passed away several years ago. Admiral Stockdale and I developed a wonderful relationship. During this relationship, we had many lengthy conversations, and much of those involved around Ronald Storrs and what an inspiration and a pillar of hope Ron was to the other prisoners in their darkest hours. At this time, I would like to read two letters before I return to describing more about Ron, what he went through, and then to conclude. This letter is from George Coker and James Mulligan, two that suffered so greatly with Ron and knew him so well in Alcatraz. Ron Storrs was a very courageous pilot and a very courageous resistor as a POW. His combat mission in Vietnam was flying air reconnaissance. The mission required him to fly a small aircraft at slow speed and at very low altitude so as to spot enemy targets. He was constantly subjected to ground fire, and eventually that ground fire shot down his plane. As a POW, he resisted every effort of the North Vietnamese captors to exploit him for either intelligence or propaganda purposes. He was brutally treated for months at a time and was severely tortured. In spite of this, he never wavered in his determined resistance. He never yielded to their pressure, mistreatment, or torture. Ron set a standard of total and determined resistance, a standard that is very difficult to match. After years of isolation and brutal treatment, his health began to falter. At times denied adequate food and water, his physical and mental health deteriorated. Ron continued his total resistance even when the captors tried to bribe him with special food and treatment. In his weakened condition, he would not yield. With minimal food, isolation, and a complete lack of care, Ron withered away. I have no doubt that Ron's last words to his barbaric North Vietnamese captors was, "No, I will not give in." With great admiration, I can only salute Ron's courage and determination and his willingness to sacrifice all his country and for his family. It was an honor for me to serve with Ron. We shared much of the same experiences for several years, especially the saga at Alcatraz. That was the worst situation of any of the experiences encountered by the POWs. May God bless and keep Ron Storrs and his family, George Coker and James Mulligan, Vietnamese prisoner of wars in Alcatraz with Ron Storrs. The second letter is from Alvin Townley. Alvin Townley is the author of the book Defiant, another must-read book. Defiant is about the Alcatraz 11 and the one that did not return home, Ron Storrs. From Alvin Townley to the Storrs family, the families of other fallen heroes, and all guests. Ron Storrs loves sunrises. Just yesterday, I ran my fingers over his name on the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. as the sun broke over the U.S. Capitol. And I thought about how much he gave, how much he did for this great country of ours. I wish I could be with you today to share my admiration and regard for Ron in person. Alan would have been here. His wife is well along with their first child, and he couldn't make it. Ron was among the first Americans down to North Vietnam, April 1965, and he battled his captors for 5 grueling years. From the moment he arrived at Hoa Lo Prison, better known as Hanoi Hilton, Ron had 3 missions. First, he was not going to cooperate with his communist captors. He awoke each morning and rededicated himself to that common goal to which American POWs aspired. To return home with honor was their main goal. He resisted with every ounce of his being, and every time the torturer's brutal ropes momentarily broke him, he redoubled his resolve and began to fight anew. He was among the 11 POWs the North Vietnamese recognized as the hardest resistors and most effective leaders. Ron was a loving father and husband, but from his captor's perspective, he was a terrible POW. Second, Ron served as a shepherd for his brother POWs. He nursed them back to health. He courageously stood in their place when he could, and he did all his power to lift their spirits. Third, Ron wanted to return home to Sandra Mark, and his little girl, Monica. He talked to them often, and perhaps too often. His will to resist sadness at missing his family and the sunrises he loved so much eventually took their toll, and Ron never returned. Yet his character lives on in his family. His example echoes down for all of us to follow, to do our best and do our duty even under the most difficult of circumstances. Ron Storrs was an American soldier who carried our values into the darkest of places. He did his duty to his country. He did his duty for his family and for us. We should not forget. Alvin Townley, author, Defiant, Atlanta, Georgia, September 24, 2016. Thank you, Alvin. Ron Storrs is my personal hero and has given me so much inspiration over the last 31 years since I've known him. Ron Storrs was one of the early American captures of the Vietnam War. Ron was the 8th pilot taken prisoner. It was a bad timing for Ron. Not that being taken captive at any time is a good timing, but this was a terrible timing for Ron. At the time of Ron's capture, the North Vietnamese propaganda machine was looking for the perfect mark to exploit. Ron was the perfect candidate the enemy had been looking for to wage its propaganda campaign of lies and untruths against the United States of America on the world stage. Ron Storrs was an extremely handsome man with piercing blue eyes. Ron was tall. Ron was intelligent. Ron was well-liked, respected by his fellow prisoners. Ron was a leader. Ron was everything his North Vietnamese torturers were not. Ron was such a perfect fit for the enemy's propaganda, they even put him on a postage stamp with a North Vietnamese guard half his size pointing a gun at his back. We have George Washington on our postage stamps. They had Ron Storrs with somebody with a gun half his size on his back. Ron was confronted with making a decision, a tough decision, not really for him. The choices were this. Choice 1, to be used as a propaganda tool in an effort to embarrass his country on a worldwide stage while American boys were dying on the field of battle. Or choice 2, ongoing, continual, brutal torture and isolation. The only choice for Ron Storrs was brutal torture and isolation. They were not going to use him as a tool of propaganda. He wouldn't do that to his country. He wouldn't do that to his little daughter. Ron was brutally tortured at the Hanoi Hilton before being moved to Alcatraz. How bad was he tortured? The pain was so excruciating with some of the tactics used that other torture measures being used at the same time went unnoticed by the person who was being tortured. Ron developed an armful of infected boils the size of golf balls, and the entire arm was green. When a fellow prisoner, in an effort to save his arm, lanced the boils with a primitive knife made out of broken glass, he found cigarette butts in each boil. How painful those torture sessions must have been to not even know burning cigarettes were being embedded into your arms multiple times. Great Americans we have here. Great American. The enemy, one time Ron and the POWs were paraded through the streets of Hanoi handcuffed. Ron's nose and beautiful face were beaten, bloodied, broken, and disfigured with shoes, rocks, and other items. The enemy underestimated the character and spirit of Ronald Edward Storrs, and he was eventually sent to Alcatraz with 11 other great leaders of that POW group. The men of Alcatraz were isolated in a cell for 2 years. The cell was 4 feet wide, about the width of the height of this stand, and 9 feet long, with no windows or ventilation. There was an iron bed with shackles and a pail for the latrine. There was a light bulb hanging from the ceiling, which was lit 24/7 for the 2 years all the men were held there. Ron never saw the light of day or any of the other captors. They did, however, communicate through the ingenious tap system. Ron was allowed to leave his cell once in a while to empty his latrine under the watchful eye of the guards, and routinely for brutal torture sessions. The entire Gang of 11 was brutally tortured during this 2-year period of isolation, but none more than Ron Storrs. To fully understand the extent and means of these of torture these brave men went through, you must read Alvin Townley's book, Defiant. The book is Defiant. Get it, read it. Understand the sacrifice these men have made, and made for all of us. At the end of the 2 years of isolation and torture in Alcatraz, the Gang of 11, with the exception of Ron Storrs, was moved out of Alcatraz and back to the Hanoi Hilton. God only knows the brutal torture that Ron Storrs must have endured as the last man in Alcatraz. In the end, Ron's tormentors realized they could not steal his spirit, so they stole his life. They could not steal his spirit, so they stole his life. Ron Storrs' spirit was the inspiration and survival crutch of so many of his fellow POWs. And Admiral Stockdale could not reiterate this enough to me. When you Google Ron Storrs, it reads Ron Storrs, American Hero. When you Google Ron Storrs, it does not say Ron Storrs, American Airman, used as a propaganda machine. When you Google Ron Storrs, it does not say American Airman used as a propaganda machine to gain favor and special treatment from his captors while young American boys died in the field of battle. Wow. That's the Ron Storrs spirit, Monica. Your dad's spirit. What a great honor and a great legacy to leave to your daughter, Monica, son Mark, aunt, and the rest of your family members. What a great legacy to leave to all of us in this world, for all those in this world who suffer underneath the chains of brutality. Ron, your spirit is alive in me. Because of you, I have said a prayer in your honor each and every day for 31 years for all of those that suffer. Ron, because of your unwavering spirit, which lives on today, I am a better father, a better person, a better son, a better friend, a better citizen. And I look forward, Ron Storrs, to meeting you someday. God bless Ron Storrs, an American hero, Monica, an American treasure. I'm extremely honored to welcome up Monica Storrs, her husband, Ron's niece, and Monica, I would like you to say something about your dad also. Please meet Ron Storrs' little daughter, his little girl.
On behalf of my entire family, I am truly honored to be here today and thank Mike, Jim, and all the volunteers of the Connecticut Fallen Heroes Association for honoring my hero, my father, Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Storrs, and the commitment he made to our great country and the life he gave. Thank you again, and God bless the United States of America. And if you'll bear with me for another minute or so, my mother sent a few words, and she apologized for not being here. Honored guests and friends, I am so sorry I could not be at this ceremony honoring my husband, Lieutenant Colonel Ronald E. Storrs. Ron was a wonderful husband, father, and dedicated to the mission as a United States Air Force pilot. Ron loved his God first, his country second, and his family third. He was my husband, lover, the father of my wonderful children, my best friend, and became my hero. He left us 52 years ago, but the memories remain in my heart and soul. He still is our hero and always will be. I thank you from the bottom of my heart that after all these many years, you believe in honoring the man who made the greatest sacrifice, and I'm humbled by your dedication to the heroes who should and will be honored here today. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Those stories were beautiful. Thank you for sharing them with us. Thank you to the families. It's a beautiful event, and I'm very honored to be here today. I also can't go any further without acknowledging and thanking our Connecticut Fallen Heroes quilters. If you guys saw the quilts that they've presented these families, they're absolutely beautiful. And they have been volunteering their time for 12 years and have made 54 quilts. So they definitely deserve a round of applause. Thank you for your countless hours of service and talent. Now, please help me welcome First Lieutenant Dominic Smith for today's benediction.
Please bow your heads and pray with me. Almighty God, we thank you and ask your special blessing on loved ones of our heroes. Heroes who still live in our hearts. They have families, wives, husbands, children, siblings, and even grandchildren who remember them so dearly. Help them and all of us to keep the spirit and love alive that made their loved ones heroes today. We ask all of this in your abiding love and mercy. Amen.
At this time, I would like to invite up my friend Addison. At this time, we will remember and honor those who had given the ultimate sacrifice. Ready, Addison? Okay. Private Cheyenne M. Seymour, United States Army, Trumbull, Connecticut. Senior Airman Guillermo Nazario, United States Air Force, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Corporal Jordan C. Pearson, United States Marine Corps, Milford, Connecticut. Private First Class Nicholas A. Madaris, United States Army, Wilton, Connecticut. Lance Corporal Philip A. Johnson, United States Marine Corps, Enfield, Connecticut. Private First Class Stephen K. Richardson, United States Army, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Petty Officer Third Class Nathan B. Bruckenthal, United States Coast Guard, Ridgefield, Connecticut. Specialist Tiana S. Avery Feldler, United States Army, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Captain Jason R. Hamill, United States Army, Salem, Connecticut. Lance Corporal Lawrence R. Philippon, U.S. United States Marine Corps, West Hartford, Connecticut. Specialist Wilfredo Perez, Jr., United States Army, Norwalk, Connecticut. Staff Sergeant Martin F. Troy, United States Army Air Force, Norwalk, Connecticut. Corporal Stephen R. Bixler, United States Marine Corps, Suffield, Connecticut. First Lieutenant Thomas J. Brown, United States Army, Shelton, Connecticut. Sergeant David J. Coulard, United States Marine Corps, Glastonbury, Connecticut. Corporal Kevin Jack Dempsey, United States Marine Corps, Monroe, Connecticut. Staff Sergeant Richard Rick Eaton, Jr., United States Army, Guilford, Connecticut. Captain Brian S. Latendra, United States Marine Corps, New Britain, Connecticut. Staff Sergeant Joseph Fanoff II, United States Army, Eastford, Connecticut. Sergeant Felix M. Del Greco, United States Army, Simsbury, Connecticut. Chief Warrant Officer, 3rd Class, William I. Brennan, United States Army, Woodbury, Connecticut. Operations Specialist Seaman, Tyler J. Connolly, United States Navy, Glastonbury, Connecticut. Sergeant Benjamin L. Gilman, United States Army, Meriden, Connecticut. Warrant Officer Michael A. Kite, United States Army, Waterbury, Connecticut. Chief Petty Officer Jason D. Lewis, United States Navy, Brookfield, Connecticut. Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy, United States Navy, Patchogue, New York. Corporal On, United States Marine Corps, Waterford, Connecticut. Chief Warrant Officer Richard R. Lee, United States Army, Wallingford, Connecticut. Sergeant Ronald Howard, United States Army, Bethany, Connecticut. Staff Sergeant Ronald W. Cardona, United States Army, Gardiner, Massachusetts. Private First Class Kyle J. Cotu, United States Marine Corps, Providence, Rhode Island. Specialist Andre Craig Jr., United States Army, New Haven, Connecticut. Private First Class Anthony D. DiAugustino, United States Army, Waterbury, Connecticut. Private First Class Melissa J. Hobart, United States Army, East Haven, Connecticut. Sergeant Stephen J. DeLuzio, United States Army, Glastonbury, Connecticut. Specialist David R. Fahey, United States Army, Norwalk, Connecticut. Sergeant First Class Dahan Park, United States Army, Watertown, Connecticut. Sergeant Robert Elia, United States Army, Shelton, Connecticut. Private First Class Jebra P. Noonan, United States Army, Watertown, Connecticut. Staff Sergeant Vincent M. Stabile, United States Army, Bronx, New York. Specialist Operations Craft Brian Bill, United States Navy, Stamford, Connecticut. Private First Class Eric D. Sufreen, United States Army, Woodbridge, Connecticut. Staff Sergeant Edwin Rivera, United States Army, Waterford, Connecticut. Sergeant Robert Leska, United States Army, Trumbull, Connecticut. Sergeant Joseph Nolan, United States Army, Waterbury, Connecticut. Private First Class Thomas E. Donovan, United States Army, Norwich, Connecticut. Lance Corporal Tyler O. Griffin, United States Marine Corps, Voluntown, Connecticut. Lieutenant Junior Guard Michael Di Bartolomeo, sorry if I pronounced that correctly, United States Navy, Stamford, Connecticut. Corporal Jacob Latour, United States Marine Corps, Waterbury, Connecticut. Corporal Frank G. Navarro, United States Army, New Haven, Connecticut. Captain Andrew M. Peterson Keel, United States Army, Madison, Connecticut. Specialist Philip Rominski, United States Army, Highland Falls, New York. Master Chief Construction Man Robert D. Steedham, United States Navy, Waterbury, Connecticut. Lieutenant Colonel Ronald E. Storrs, United States Air Force, Queens, New York. And in memory of all of the unknown fallen heroes.
Thank you, everyone.
Now we will have a releasing of the doves. The United States Army National Guard Honor Guard for the Retreat of Colors. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It was a beautiful event, and I want to give a special thank you to the families who joined us. This country wouldn't be the country that it is today if it weren't for the many men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice, who fought for this country and the rights that we have today, and I am honored to represent Connecticut. I'm proud to be from Connecticut and stand next to all of you as we remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, honor the men and women who have fought, continue to fight, and our future servicemen and women, because this country is great because of them. Thank you to the Connecticut Fallen Heroes Association for putting together this event. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's thanks to the volunteers. Yes. Thanks to the volunteers and the many people who donate their time to make sure that these men and women never go forgotten. A special thank you to Mike Mastroni. Where are you? He's always hiding. You are an amazing man, and we thank you for putting together these events for this association, and you are tremendous. So another round of applause for Mike, please. Lastly, I just want to thank you all again for joining us today. It was beautiful. God bless America. God bless our servicemen and women, and please get home safely. Thank you.